Jai Jinendra, welcome to Adults Class 2, Practical Applications of Jainism. Let's start with the Nokar mantra. Namo Arihantanam, Namo Siddhanam, Namo Ayaryanam, Namo Ujayanam, Namo Loe Savasagunam, Eso Panchadamokaro, Sava Pava Panasano, Mangalavancha Savesim, Paramam Have Mangala. So we've been preparing for this class for some time now. Specifically, we learned why it was important to memorize Logasa. So that was like 5 weeks ago. So why is it important to memorize Logasa?
I wasn't in the class.
So she's excused.
We know the names
To
of
remember all the name of the...
Okay,
And
so
their
we
names.
remember the names of the Tirthankars, and why is that important? To remember the names?
To
So you
remember the
remember
qualities so we
stories.
can be like them.
Right, exactly. By remembering the names, we remember the qualities that they have, and we remember we want those qualities, and we remember to apply them to our life. So after that, we learned why it was important to memorize the stories of the Tirthankars. That is, if we just know the names, and we don't know the stories, then we have a break in the link, right? And so we have to know the stories to know the qualities that we want to apply to our life. Okay, and then after that, we learned why it was important to memorize sutras. Okay, same answer, right? If we memorize the words of the sutras, we have it ready when we need it to apply it to our life, to make our life better. Okay, because we can't look up if we're in the heat of something, we can't just look up a sutra and figure out what it means. There's a lot of friction there. We won't be able to apply it to our life. We want to easily apply those lessons to increase the quality of our life. So it's like a mantra. Okay? Mantras work, right? If you say every day at the beginning of the day for 5 times, I'm going to be a millionaire. 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 After that, is it more likely that you will be a millionaire than if you hadn't said that?
More likely.
Yes, it is more likely. Mantras work, and it's not magic, okay? All mantras do is it's a mindfulness technique. If you have it in the front of your mind, then you're more likely to make decisions that comport with your goals, right? You're more likely to go to that networking event after a hard day's work rather than go home and relax. You're more likely to fire up your computer late at night rather than watch television or do some reading for pleasure. You're more likely to make those because you brought it to the front of your mind every day, right? So mantras are just mindfulness. That's why they work. So we've been kind of leading up to this class for the last 5 or 6 classes, so let's just talk about it. Let's talk about mindfulness and meditation. That is, mindfulness is the practice of intentionally bringing your attention to the present moment without judgment. Okay, it means noticing what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what feelings your body are sensing, and what's happening around you. And it's not trying to change it, and it's not trying to judge it. You're not lost in worries about the past or worries about the future. You're just paying attention to the present moment. And a key feature is that you don't judge what is going on. That is, you observe and experience without labeling it as good or bad, or it's good that I'm feeling the wind in my face, or it's good that I'm feeling energetic today, or it's bad that I am worried about this thought came into my head. So some examples where you can be mindful are you can eat mindfully. You can eat a meal slowly, savoring each bite, looking, feeling it in your mouth, feeling how your tongue sends signals to your brain and how your brain interprets it. You can be mindful when you're breathing. You just notice the sensation of air going in and out of your lungs. You can be mindful by just feeling your emotions, right? And just naming your emotions without judging yourself, good or bad, whether you have those emotions. Years ago I had an epiphany, is that some people don't know why they're having certain emotions. And some people, a fewer subset of people, can't name their emotions correctly. But I thought everyone was like me. I've never had an emotion where I didn't know why I was feeling it. I always know the cause of my emotions. And I thought everybody else did. And I don't say that to brag. In fact, it's quite the opposite. After I realized that I was not normal, my relationships improved dramatically with other people. Okay? And so just naming the emotion and trying to find out where it came from is a very good exercise for mindfulness. Because when you name something, you exert power over it. Okay? You put it in a bucket. You say, oh, I understand you. You put it in a compartment in your mind. Even though if it doesn't cure your frustration or if you're angry, it helps to say, I am angry. Because once you say that as a definitive statement, you'll realize a couple things. You'll realize, I've been angry before. This is going to pass. I know it will pass. I have enough life experience, right? And then once you say, oh, I'm feeling angry, then you realize, like, I can make a choice here. I can choose to react badly to this anger, or I can choose, even if I can't get rid of it, I can just choose to wait it out. Because once you say, I am angry, that immediately takes you out of being enslaved by the anger. It's like a circuit breaker, right? And so just identifying the emotions that you're having is a great way to use mindfulness.
It's basically recognizing the core issue, right? Like, if you are angry, you realize that you are angry and you just don't say anything back. So you're not making the situation worse.
Exactly. That's right. In fact, it's not like the core issue, because you might not know why you're angry, but it doesn't matter. Just to know that you're angry, just to say it, in your mind even, just to say, I'm angry right now. That will help your life. That will improve the quality of your life tremendously.
But I have a question. So isn't it, if you are, say, angry, you realize it and you say, I don't want to talk about it, I need some time. You always putting it in the back burner because you're just trying to avoid the issue at that point. Isn't that a problem too then?
Yes and no. It is a problem if you keep doing it. It's not a problem if you take the time, you let the anger dissipate, and then work on why you were angry. Right. But while you're angry is not the time to do that.
Yeah, I feel like I recognize that I'm angry, and then I isolate myself, right? But then I stay there for a long time. Right. Because I know, like, if I start interacting, it's going to come back up. Right. So I don't know if that's the right way to deal with it either.
It is the right way, and unfortunately, you might experience your anger takes longer to subside than other people. And that's fine. That's just a quirk of who you are. Other people are differently. But it's good that you recognize that and you're taking the time that you need to get rid of it before reacting badly to it.
What about the expectations kicks into that mix? Like, say, I'm angry. I know why I'm angry, because someone didn't do something. I'm taking myself to calm myself down, but then I expect the other person to come and apologize because what they did. Right?
But then the issue never resolves. Right. You just isolate yourself.
And then you just calm yourself down, and then you back to normal. You try to act back to normal, and it's basically just moving on from the issue.
Right, you never resolved what the issue is.
You're setting expectations that
I think that was wrong.
You're creating your own problem by setting the expectation, right? You know, if you're expecting someone to come in and apologize, how's that gonna work?
Right. So a couple of issues there. When we expect something out of someone else, and we make our emotions depend on somebody else, we're losing control, right? You're not controlling yourself. You're letting other people control you. Another thing is that is what we were talking about when we said working on the problem. Well, once you're not angry, and then now you still expect this person to apologize for, well, now's the time to work on that problem. You can work on it yourself. Well, why am I expecting this person to apologize? Am I putting, my destiny in the hands of other people, which is wrong? Or, hey, can I come up to this other person and say, well, I thought that you should apologize for this and this reason, and we can have a conversation that doesn't include anger? Well, that's the time to work on that. once your anger is dissipated.
Because it happens a lot when now you are getting like not teenagers but like preteen, right? Like,
Right.
because their reasonings are so much different than our reasoning, right?
Right.
So there's always a friction going on back and forth.
Right. And it helps to remember what we talked about, right? All anger is directed at the self. There's no scenario that you can give me where your anger is directed at somebody else. It's always directed at yourself, because the cause of anger is the mismatch between expectation and reality. So once you realize that you have this superpower of mindfulness, you can reduce your stress, you can improve your focus, you can regulate your emotions, you can enhance your compassion for other people because you're not constantly being ruled by your emotions. You can see that other people are being ruled by their emotions, and you have a lot of compassion for them. All right, so that was mindfulness. Let's talk about meditation. Meditation is a practice where you train your mind. You train your body by going to the gym. You train your mind by doing this practice of meditation. Typically, you focus your attention to achieve greater self-awareness. And there's lots of different, just like there's lots of different exercises you can do at the gym, there's lots of different exercises, meditation exercises you can do with your mind. You can do concentration meditation, loving kindness meditation, where you think about compassion and loving the people around you. You can do a body scan meditation. You can do a visualization or guided meditation. There's an infinite amount of exercises you can do for your mind. And remember, the purpose of meditation is not to clear your mind or to not have any thoughts, okay? That's a misconception. The purpose is to observe your thoughts without being pulled around by your thoughts. And over time, this brings you calm, focus, insight, and emotional regulation, the exact same things that mindfulness bring you. And so what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? If they do give you the same things, that is, what's the difference? Well, meditation is something you do deliberately, okay? You say, I'm going to reserve this time to do it, just like you say, I'm going to reserve this time to go to the gym. And then you sit down and you do it. And so mindfulness is a state of awareness. You can be mindful your whole life. In fact, you should be mindful your whole life. You can't meditate your whole life because you can't just do the exercises your whole life. But mindfulness is a state of being. You can do everything that you normally do in a mindful state of mind. So you can wash dishes mindfully. You can eat your dinner mindfully. You can interact with other people mindfully. So meditation is something that you do, and mindfulness is a way that you are. And meditation can help you be more mindful.
So mindful also, you have to be more present.
Yeah.
Yes, mindfulness is being in the present moment without living in the past or without thinking about the future. So questions or comments about that?
I think it's also about trying to control your thoughts, right? Like when you're doing the dishes, you might subconsciously be thinking about something else because that's not an important task in the day. So how do we try to be mindful, while doing that?
Sure. So that is, how do we control our thoughts? Well, the way to do that, the key point, you control your thoughts by practicing meditation. And the key point for meditation is that awareness is different from thoughts. Okay? If you think awareness and thoughts are the same thing, then you are enslaved. And you haven't known a minute of peace in your entire life from the tyranny of your brain. That is, your brain is the most efficient machine to capture your awareness ever created. Okay? And 99% of the time it does so with perceived threats. There is nothing that makes the brain happier than scaring your awareness. Because when you're scared, your brain is doing precisely the thing it was designed to do. Okay? Specifically, one of the main functions of your brain is threat detection. All right? The problem is that in a majority of your life, there is no threat. Let's say you're brushing your teeth in the morning. There's no threat. This is a big problem for your brain. So your brain takes you into the past to relive traumatic experiences while you're brushing your teeth. because it wants to detect threats. Let's say you have the ability to let that go. Well, now your brain is going to feed you information about an argument you're going to have in the future, because your brain wants you to prepare for that. So by doing this, your brain constantly pulls you into the past and pulls you into the future and takes you away from the present moment, because there is no threat in the present moment. In the majority of your life, there is no threat.
Question on the mindfulness. So the way we are designed, we are always multitasking. Our brain is always multitasking. How can you be present or mindful while doing like a chore like dishes, right? Because your mind is always racing for the other important things. So how do you be mindful in a situation like that? And is it necessary to be mindful in those kind of situations while you can get something else productive?
I never promised you it would be easy. I only promised you it would be the truth. And you're right to be frustrated, because it is very hard. You think that you're supposed to be multitasking, but you're not. What you think is multitasking is your brain pulling your awareness in different directions. And you should be upset about that. And you should be upset that you're not controlling it. And it is a good thing if you're able to focus. So let's say you're washing dishes, your example. There's lots of things to feel and experience in the present moment. There's the feel of the water. There's the feel of the soap. There's where the dirty parts are in the dish. There's attacking those. There's how you should be doing that. There's lots to experience in each of those moments. And we're not doing that. And the problem is that the key point for mindfulness is that the quality of your attention determines the quality of your life. Have you ever been doing something? Have you ever been reading a book or something, and then you realize like you were thinking about something else, and then you read that whole paragraph and you didn't understand any of it,
Yes.
and you have to go back and reread it?
Yes.
That's how we live our life. By being distracted, we live our life as if in a fog, and we're not experiencing any of it by living a distracted life. And your life suffers because of it. That is, the better your quality of attention, the better the quality of your life. The better your experiences will be, the better your relationships will be, the better everything will be. It's like finally reading the words and being able to understand it.
I remember the example like when we were discussing about mindfulness, someone in the class had mentioned about washing dishes, and the way he's looking at it differently now, it just stayed in my mind. I do that activity while not always, but I mindfully shift myself to feel when I'm washing the dishes. He said the soap, the feel of that utensil, or the way you feel, oh, I did remove this grease,
Right.
Like
So
that.
it makes your experience a little better?
Yes,
It makes a difference?
Yeah, it did make a difference, and I was surprised that just a
that was
small.
me, right?
Yeah, I remember you telling that. Yeah.
So, in fact, when you asked, did that make the experience better? Mindfulness is the secret shortcut to make all your chores better. All the things you hate to do and you have to do, if you do it mindfully, you'll really enjoy doing them.
Yeah, I liked it. Even though I do it daily basis, I liked that moment, right?
Right.
Somebody teach my daughter to do chores mindfully.
Exactly.
Sometimes we just finish it, like you just wrap it up, but that takes more stress.
Yeah, I feel like even if I don't like doing some chores, I try to hurry up and get it done,
Right.
just to not prolong it, and I didn't think I would.
And remember, it doesn't always have to be good. Some chores give you sensations that you don't like. If you take out the trash, it smells really bad, right? And you don't like that. But you can do it mindfully, and it will be a bad experience, but you will experience it more, okay? And that will be good. The highs are very high and the lows are very low, and mindfulness lets you experience it all. Coming back to your question about controlling thoughts, what does it mean to let a thought go? Or what do I mean when I say, well, you don't have to think your thoughts? Well, let's not get caught up in the words. There's a very real concept here. and you try to understand it, okay, as best as you can. That isn't having the thought by necessity thinking it. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What happens is your subconscious delivers to your conscious mind thoughts, okay? And you can notice it. And what I mean by letting go is a couple things. You don't react to the thought. You don't call it good or bad, okay? You don't judge yourself or the thought, okay? And you absolutely don't let it lead you to another similar thought. Like, if you feel, I'm hungry, you don't let it lead to, well, what am I going to have for lunch today? Well, what do I have in the fridge? That is your attention being captured by your thoughts, okay? That's what you don't want to do. So when I say don't think your thoughts or let go of your thoughts, I'm not saying don't notice them. You can't not notice them. But I'm saying let them go without reacting to them. And what's going to happen once you start doing this is your brain is going to start to panic. Because it can't capture your awareness anymore. And it's going to start feeding you thoughts very rapidly. Saying, maybe this one will capture his attention. Maybe this one will capture her attention. And you'll have to constantly be letting thoughts go. It's as if balloons appear in your hand. And you just have to keep letting them go. And they just magically appear in your hand. And you have to keep letting them go.
So you'll never be at rest?
No,
is
you
that
will
what you're
be.
saying?
You will be. Because after that initial panic is over,
Okay.
you will have trained your brain to deliver thoughts less quickly because it's going to get tired of doing that. But even if it does, you will have the tools necessary to let them go. That's what I mean by controlling your thoughts. That's what I mean by don't think your... These are just different ways to explain this concept to you. It's a difficult concept to grasp, and you might learn it in different ways. One way to help let go is to, you know how we say, like, well, if you have an addiction, let's replace it with a good addiction to something else. If you have an addiction to smoking, let's replace it with an addiction to exercise. You still have the addiction, right? But it's just better, right? So if your attention is going to be captured, let's control what it's captured by. Let's focus on our breathing. Everybody says breathing. This doesn't have to be breathing. Breathing is just something you always have. It's always with you. It could be anything, but people like to do breathing. So one way to do that is to focus your attention on your breathing, on your in and your out, and how it feels and how your chest moves up and down. And you will actually realize how interesting breathing is once you practice it enough, once you focus your attention on it enough. And then you realize your brain has delivered you a thought, and you let it go and you focus on your breathing. So that's one way to do it, is to let your awareness be captured by your breathing. Okay? So let's try it right now. Okay, let's set the timer for 1 minute. Let's close our eyes. You don't have to close your eyes. This is not a meditation exercise. This is a mindfulness exercise. So we will set the timer for 1 minute, and let's practice just focusing on our breathing. You want to keep your awareness on your breath, and you want to feel it going in and out. You'll notice sometimes you'll take a short one, and sometimes you'll take a long one, and that's interesting why you do that. And you'll notice your brain is trying to capture your awareness by delivering you thoughts. You'll notice the sounds in the room are trying to capture your attention. You might hear sounds that you've never heard before. All right. Does anybody feel differently? Yeah? You feel differently? How do you feel differently?
No, I feel calm.
Yeah.
But I've been doing this. I mean, I've got initiated into it and I've been doing it, so it was a lot more easier to go in a trance.
Right.
Now, I want to share my experience, and this has been thanks to you. Is now when the thoughts keep coming and I can't stop, I say Namo Intana. So breathing
Right.
actually brings more thoughts to me for
Okay,
some odd
sure,
reason.
yeah.
And I started writing it down, and that became a headache to write down now. So I just say Namo Intana.
Great. That's the perfect use
And
for it.
now just thoughts stop coming, and then if the thoughts are still coming, I say more Namo Intana.
Right.
So I try to overtake the thought process
Mm-hmm.
by saying Namo Intana.
Great. That's a great thing you can pay attention to.
Yeah.
And then, just like breathing, you recite it, and then you're paying attention to that. You're letting that capture your awareness, and you're not letting the thoughts capture your awareness. Great.
And the other thing I would recommend is fake it till you make it. Just tell your mind, what, I'm not going to think about it.
Right. And so, just like we practice mindful breathing, you can practice mindful eating. So, when you decide to one day you're going to practice mindful eating, no distractions, don't watch your phone while you're eating, don't have a conversation while you're eating. You can notice, you'll notice things you haven't before when you're eating. And if you do that enough times, you'll prefer to eat that way. Because remember, the quality of your attention determines the quality of your life. And then when people try to talk to you while you're eating, you're like, why are you trying to talk to me? I'm trying to eat here. I'm trying to have a nice experience, right? I'm not trying to be distracted from this experience.
But when you expect a meal with your family sitting on a table, where you find your children at least one time a day or having a meal together, or maybe one time a week, we tend to have conversations when we are eating food.
Sure.
Maybe the goal is not to eat food, it's just to sit together, which makes us more happy,
Right.
and then the attention is not more on our food.
Or maybe you can practice it with your children. Maybe that meal is a good way to practice mindful eating with your children. And you explain what I explained to you to them, and you all do a mindful eating, where you're sitting around and you're all mindfully eating, and you're not conversing and distracting each other from your mindful eating. How about that?
Just a quiet table.
Sure. Sounds nice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's a good way to diet. We won't be able to in the beginning much.
Another thing to do, another exercise you might try is mindful walking. The people that like to go on walks, this is what they do without realizing that they're doing it. Why do you like to go on walk? Well, it clears my head. I like to get out. I like to see the different things. Well, what are you doing but not living in the present not living in the future, not living in the past? You're engaging yourself in the present moment. That's why you like to go out on a walk, because it's mindfulness, right?
That's what I'm doing right now in this meeting. I'm walking in my community.
That's great.
So, a difference between mindfulness and meditation, what would it be?
So the difference is that meditation is something you do. That is, just like you go to the gym for your body and you do exercises, meditation is going to the gym for your mind, and you do different exercises. Mindfulness is you do everything you can do is a state of awareness, right? You can do everything you do normally, but being mindful about it. And what happens is, it's like someone, when you live your life like that, it's like someone turned the volume up on all your senses, okay? And you experience a different reality than the one that you're used to. It feels as good as any drug you've ever taken, believe it or not. And you can do it at any time in your life. So why aren't we doing it all the time? That is, it's really hard to stay in the present moment, because we're all constantly being pulled. If it's not our brain, let's say we have a good handle on our brain and we finally stopped it from enslaving our awareness. Well, other things want to control your brain. Your phone wants to control your brain. You already know that. The people around you want to control your brain. Your work wants to control your brain. Everything is a constant battle for your attention. And so even if you've got your own thoughts under control, you got to get all the other distractions in your life under control, and it's very hard. But a wandering mind is an unhappy mind, and that may be the reason that you have been experiencing unhappiness, is because you can't live a non-distracted life. Questions or comments about that?
So when we did the 1 minute quiet exercise just now, I just realized to myself, I mean, that was a thought that came to me, that for me personally, it's a lot easier to forget the past, but I think I spend more time worrying about the future.
Because you know that you can control the future. You know you can't control the past. It's already done. But you know your actions now can control the future, can control your circumstances in the future. And that's why you're worried about the future. Certainly that's true. And that's something that we have to overcome. Because you have to realize that it's degrading the quality of your life. Constantly worrying about the future and, oh, do I have enough money for the future? Do I have enough food for the future? Do I have enough safety for the future? That's degrading your present moment right now. And so once we realize that, we can set aside a specific time. I'm not saying don't do those things. I'm saying set aside an hour and get your money situation figured out, get all your accounts figured out, get your, and then, because that's the present moment. And then don't worry about it. Then start living in the present moment. Or if you have some big presentation coming up, you set aside some time to prepare for it, to worry about it, to say what might go wrong. You do that evaluation. And then don't let that leak into the other moments that you have that you don't want the future to degrade, like the quality of time you spend with your children, or the quality of time you spend with your spouse, or the quality of time when you're relaxing but can't really relax because you're worried about the future.
Stress comes not taking action on situations, mainly.
Sure.
The procrastination brings more stress. I feel with your daily thoughts, just pushing it to tomorrow, and you just feel that you have not completed something, and then that brings more worries.
Right. And so once we've acted, then we can get rid of those feelings of procrastination-induced stress.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about the bad things, but what is possible, right? If you live your life mindfully, what's possible? It's possible to read body language of other people correctly by living in the present moment. And that means your interactions with them will be better. Okay, it's possible to feel refreshed and energized after just a couple of breaths, no matter how tired you are, how much work you've done, because mindfulness is hacking your brain, right? It's possible to perform this emotional hygiene that we've constantly talked about. With mindfulness, it's possible to capture that elusive feeling of you are exactly where you're supposed to be and doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Has anybody ever had that feeling? It's like, I'm not supposed to be doing this, or I could be doing something better, or I'm not supposed to be here. If you live a mindful life, you can realize, you can start getting that feeling of, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. It leads to a better understanding of reality, okay? When you realize that what I'm saying is true, that your thoughts are different from your awareness, okay? Well, what's responsible for your awareness? It's your soul, right? It's one of the qualities of your soul. Once you start realizing that's true, you'll start realizing everything in this book is true. And then you'll start opening this book and reading the things in this book, and you'll believe them to be true. And that's better than any drug you can ever take, okay? Once you realize that Jainism is true, you will tear through this book in a day and wonder why it took you so long. Wonder why it was so hard to open this book and why it's so hard to read these words in your free time. Questions or comments about that?
So one thing I understand is mindfulness, or whichever state I guess you aim for, is a matter of practice. But it's hard.
Absolutely.
I mean, you cannot see results short time or without being disciplined about it. So how do you do that? How do you incorporate that in your busy lives?
Sure. So just like anything else, just like going to the gym, you practice it. Okay? You set aside time to practice it. You say, I'm going to have this meal mindfully. And then you realize like halfway through the meal your awareness was captured by a train of thoughts. And then you're like, oh, I messed up. Okay? So then maybe another time you're like, okay, I screwed that one up. I'm going to have this meal mindfully. And you get a little better. And you start getting better. And once you do that, okay, you have that done. And then you go to another thing. I'm going to wash these dishes mindfully. Okay? And then you realize you screwed up. And you lasted 1 minute into the exercise, right? And then the next time you do it, you'll last maybe 3 minutes, right? That's how you do it. You keep practicing. And it's hard. It sounds exhausting. It sounds exhausting. For me to be living in the present moment, I have to be constantly monitoring all these stimuli, right? Part of what the brain does, it says, that's not a threat, that's not a threat, that's a threat, I got to pay attention to that. I'm asking you to pay attention to everything. You have 5 senses. You have a barrage of thoughts coming through your subconscious. Not only that, you have other living beings, not just people, but animals, maybe insects. Those things your brain is directing to your attention to that. It sounds exhausting, and it is exhausting. I got to pay attention to all 5 of my senses. I'm not even eating anything. I got to pay attention to taste. Yes, you do. But once you kind of have an experience of that, once you notice how amazing your attention can be when you start paying attention to everything all at once, it is an unbelievable feeling. It's something that I've experienced, and it's something I can tell you from my personal experience, that you will want to recapture that again and again. It's like your first gains in the gym. Once you start seeing that muscle develop, or once you start feeling better, or lift something that you couldn't lift before, you'll want to do it again, and you realize it's working. And you'll go back, and no matter how much you fail, you'll go back and back and back to these mindfulness exercises.
Because our actions also they become very efficient, right? Because we are very mindful and focused on what we are doing, so we do better of it.
That's right. That's right. And you'll see that it leads to a lot of knock-on effects in your life. It's what we talk about by living an examined life, right? It'll lead to better relationships. It will lead to more efficient actions. It'll lead to better productivity, all right? Because you're not so worried about the future, you're not so worried about your past, and you're taking control of your brain. And it's hard. It sounds exhausting because it is exhausting at first. Just like going to the gym is exhausting at first. I did, 3 exercises, and it was the puniest weights of everybody at the gym, and I'm dead tired afterwards. Yeah, that's going to happen when you start.
Right. One thing that I learned over years is that, the way we are, trained and brought up is that the more intellectual you are, the more smarter you are, the better you'll be in life. And you're trained to use your brain. And I think that's totally counterintuitive. You shouldn't be thinking about being intellectual is my, view there. Brain can lead you in many ways, just like what you said, but it has a purpose, and if you let not drive you, I think then if you can understand that, and that's a start in my view, that how not try to be always using your brain, or be intellectual, or be like how can you beat someone or some process, or learn how can you be always thinking from your mind rather than being more in the present is, I think, might change the perspective there.
One thing that will help you is to realize you're not your brain. Your brain is a part of your body, and it's a human part. And you're not human. Okay, you're a soul that's trapped in a body. And this soul is interfacing with the brain. And the brain is the awareness is produced by the soul. It's one of the qualities of your soul. Okay? And your brain is trying to capture that awareness. It's trying to inhibit the qualities of your soul, just like your body is. Okay? So when you talk about things like, using your intellect brings you success, you want to train your intellect, you want to obey your mind, things like that, That's all your body. Okay? It has nothing to do with the success of your soul. In fact, the success of your soul is taming your brain and realizing that awareness is different from thoughts. And that will help you perform Samvar, and that will help you perform Nirdra. And that is the true definition of success, how closer you are to moksha. Other questions or comments?
So there is a concept of observer of the thoughts. So the soul is we have to get to a place where we observe the thoughts, right? And we recognize we are a soul. That's the goal, right?
Sure, there's a lot of different words people have used. I've used the word awareness. You can use the word observer. But it is that your soul has provided you that awareness. And it is the brain that has provided you the thoughts. A part of your body, a pudgal, that has provided you your thoughts that are trying to capture your awareness. And you can call it an observer. You can call it just call it a soul if you want. However it makes sense to you, whatever words you use to understand the concept correctly. Okay, so we tried a mindfulness thing, right? Let's try a meditation thing. Okay, so meditation is something we do. So we do have to sit. We have to sit like this. We have to close our eyes. Okay, and this will be longer than a minute. So we'll set the timer for longer than a minute. We're not going to do breath awareness because that's mindfulness, and that's why people get confused with mindfulness and meditation. So let us do a body scan meditation. Okay? So close your eyes. And then bring your awareness to different parts of your body. Okay? So first, let's go from bottom to top. So bring your awareness to the sensation in your toes. And now your foot. Bring your awareness to the sensation of your calves. And now your knees. And there's lots of things going on, there's sounds, but you can let those go. You can bring your awareness to the sensation of your thighs. And you can bring your awareness to the sensation of where you're seated, the points of contact between you and the ground. And you can bring your awareness to your stomach. And all of a sudden you'll notice that it's moving. Your legs weren't moving, your toes weren't moving, but your stomach is because you're breathing. You can bring your awareness to your chest. And you can bring your awareness to your neck. And this is still all moving because you're breathing. You can bring your awareness to your ears. And bring your awareness to your face. This is usually the easiest because we think of ourselves as a head. Because all of our senses are in our face. You can bring your awareness to the top of your head. Okay, you can open your eyes. So what was the point of that? Does anybody feel differently?
Everything I focused on was hurting. I felt like I was 90 years old.
Well, good. That is the point. Is to notice how your body is feeling, right? To bring your awareness to different portions of your body.
It's interrelated, I guess, mindfulness and meditation. It's like when you're meditating, you're being present, what you are, and it's like interrelated to each other.
Right. Because of this particular type of meditation, and especially the one where you focus on your breath. But imagine doing a meditation called loving kindness meditation, where you think about your loved ones, you think about being happy, you think about interacting with the world in a more positive manner. Well, that doesn't really have anything to do with being in the present moment, right? There's lots of different exercises, meditation exercises you can do in the gym of your mind. And it's not all related to mindfulness. But you're right, this one was. Just like a breathing one is, right? So, what are the benefits of meditation, right? Just like mindfulness, meditation reduces stress, increases your well-being, increases your sense of connectedness and empathy with other people, improves your focus, relationships, makes you more creative, improves your memory, improves your ability to make decisions, actually, helps you overcome addictions because you interrogate your mind sometimes. It improves your cardiovascular health, your immune system, things like that. Lots more, but that's only as you get deeper and deeper into your practice, meditation practice. Questions or comments about that? Did anybody not get anything out of that? That's fine.
I think this second time around felt less distracted.
Okay.
Maybe because we practiced a minute of breathing before, but with this one also there was focus on the body parts versus previously it was just breathing.
Right. And so there are different kinds of meditation depending on what you want to get out of it. So, one example, you might be wondering, well, what's a big deal? Like, how many things could there possibly be to pay attention to if I'm living my life mindfully, right? Well, let's take our brushing teeth example. Well, what is there to pay attention to when you're brushing your teeth? Well, you have the flavor of the toothpaste on your tongue, right? You have the smell that's coming into your nose. You have the cooling sensation that's going on in your mouth. You have a feeling of the way the toothbrush moves over your teeth and gums, and you have to pay attention to which parts you've done and which parts you haven't, and which part is getting the most time and which parts are getting the least time, right? Isn't there a sound to brushing your teeth, right? Isn't there a sound as you move back and forth? Aren't you somewhere where you can see yourself brushing your teeth, usually in the mirror, right? Isn't there a million different things to think about when you brush your teeth? Now that you think about it, like, well, why am I thinking about this argument I had while I'm brushing my teeth? There's so many things to think about right now. There's so many things I could be paying attention to increase the quality of my life. And, let's say you don't believe your soul. Let's say you don't believe that anything happens when you die. Doing these things will help your life right now. It'll improve the quality of your life right now, not some mystical future where you might not know that it will come or not. It'll improve your relationships, it will improve your mental clarity, and it will improve your focus right now. So even if you don't believe anything in this book or don't believe your soul, the purpose of this class has been and will always be applying Jain principles to your life to improve the quality of your life right now. That's why it's called Practical Applications of Jainism.
I have a question. How does manifestation work then?
So our mantra example, how does if I manifest something and I say it will happen, how does it tend to happen?
Like we are thinking about future, right? In that process, I meditate to manifest something. So I'm thinking about future. That doesn't contradict the situation.
Just because you go to the gym to exercise so you can be stronger to pick something up, that's not a contradiction, right? I'm going to make my life better. I'm thinking about making my life better. I'm going to do this meditation to make my life better. That's not my thought. That's not my awareness being captured and pulled into the future. I'm living in the present moment to do something for myself in the future.
Because I have experienced when I was have to use 6 senses while doing that. So whatever you're manifesting is in front of you on a screen, where you're using a sense of smell, touch, all those 5, what you hear during that. So it's nothing that has happened, but you're trying to visualize all those senses in future. So what I felt that really I'm manifesting for my good quality of life that I want to have. Right.
Tell me what you mean by manifest.
Like wishing for something.
Like something that you want. It's mainly for your quality of life. You are thinking you want to have something you want to happen with your life
You want
or
to become
yourself
something.
or with yourself or with,
You're hoping for an outcome.
you can say.
Is that what you mean by
Yeah.
manifest?
Yeah.
So a couple of good points. Yes, this is our mantra example. And one thing that will help other people understand what you're trying to say is this process of visualization. Sports people use that all the time. And what it means is, let's say you have a big game coming up, okay? You visualize yourself winning the game, and you feel kind of the emotions, and you visualize it, and you feel those emotions, and you feel how you go out onto the court, and you look at how the court is, and you look at where the people are going to be. What happens is when it's time to win the game, the ball's coming towards you. What that has done for you is you don't seize up, you don't get nervous, you don't become scared, because you have visualized it. You know the people are there because you visualized it. You've already felt what it's like to win, so you can concentrate on hitting the ball and actually winning. That is what the visualization has done for you. It's helped you overcome those hurdles in advance because you've already had those fights, or you've already experienced those things, and you don't let it interfere with your present moment. That is the same thing that's going on when you try to manifest something. You see yourself in that future, and then it becomes easier for you to get there because there are less obstacles for you to get there. And that is the same thing that happens when we're talking about this mantra. You're bringing it to the front of your mind, so you make your decisions to comport with that rather than to choose a different path away from that. Okay, so Layla walked in. It's time to look at Layla and realize that she is a soul just like we are. She's not any younger or any older than we are. It's her body that appears younger, but her soul is exactly the same as our soul. It's not worth less. It's not worth more. It's worth the exact same that our soul is. It is just surrounded by a body that looks younger. And if you can't tell that, then that's a good place to start. Because once you can see that Layla's soul is the same as your soul, then you can see that, well, maybe the soul of this rabbit is the same soul that's in me. Or maybe this soul that's in this grass is also a soul. And I should treat it like a soul. I shouldn't treat Layla like an inferior being because she's younger. Or like she doesn't know what she's doing because she's younger. She's the same age as I am.
I still remember.
Her body is young.
You had told this last time, so when Leila was in the class. You said this, and I still remember that.
So next time you speak with your kids, remember that.
Yeah.
They might have been through more in their lives than you have.
Inclusiveness is what you're saying.
Inclusiveness? What does that mean?
No. So if you're identifying your soul as,
Oh, so when I say that it's the same soul, it's not that it's the same and we're all one soul. It's that she's a soul just like mine. Okay? It's not that it's the same. It's that it has the same qualities. We're two different souls. Questions or comments about anything we talked about today?
So coming back to Vaishali's point, these the different methods you may employ is overcoming again the inertia that mind has. Mind is again pulling you away from either those particular moments or what you want to achieve in the future or whatnot. So I think you're right. These are one of the techniques I feel. How do you overcome the limitations that mind or your intellect puts you in that, right?
Right. So the words that we use matter, and you use this loaded word mind, right? What is a mind? Can you tell me?
Again, I may not have exact definition the way I understand, but I mean it's like, I think again, mind is the intellect, sort of.
Well, that's another word that you use. I was going to ask that. Like, what is an intellect? You told me a mind is intellect. Here's the problem. Science says that a mind exists, okay? Science has a hard time describing it because it's not the truth. Science says, well, the mind is a construct that's created by the firing of neurons in the brain, okay? It's just not true. I'm telling you, let's stop using the words mind. Let's stop using the words intellect. There's only awareness and there's only thoughts. One is produced by the soul and one is produced by the body. And the thoughts are trying to capture your awareness. There's no mind, there's no intellect, okay? There's not some combination of, the thoughts plus the awareness equals this construct of mind. No. There's only awareness and there's only thoughts. So I encourage you, once you start living your life like that, you'll start seeing the truth because you'll realize you're a soul and the awareness is a quality of your soul. So stop using the words that keep you in delusion and start using the words that keep you in the truth. Thank you so much for your time this week. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. One quick question. So is consciousness the same as awareness or is it different?
That's another one of those tricky words, consciousness, okay? So consciousness is awareness. It's the same thing as awareness. So there's only, if you like that word, use that word. There's only consciousness, there's only thoughts. And thoughts appear in consciousness, delivered by your brain, which is a part of your body, delivered to your consciousness.
That makes sense.
Thank you so much.
Happy
Thank
Mother's
you.
Day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.